In this video, we're going to have a look at some examples of working with negative indices using the seventh index law. The seventh index law tells us that if we have a negative index, we can move it either to the denominator or the numerator to make it into a positive. So if our negative index is already in the numerator, we move it down into the denominator. Alternatively, if our negative index is already in the denominator, we move it up into the numerator to make it a positive. So let's have a look at some examples. So we want to simplify the following and write with positive indices. So the first one is k to the power of 4 times by k to the power of negative 9. And what I want to do first is apply the first index law to simplify it into one term. So that is going to equal k to the power of 4 plus negative 9, which equals k to the power of negative 5. Now that I have it in one term, I can apply the seventh index law, and because my negative index is in the numerator, I move it down to the denominator. So that is going to equal to 1 over k to the power of 5. So before applying the seventh index law, it is best to apply all the other index laws to be able to simplify it before applying the seventh index law. So having a look at b, p to the power of 5 divided by p to the power of 8. This time I want to apply the second index law. So p to the power of 5 minus 8, which equals p to the power of negative 3. Now that I've applied the third index law, I can go ahead and apply the seventh index law to make it into a positive index. And I do that by moving it into the denominator. So that's going to become 1 divided by p to the power of 3. So looking at the last example in this video, it's a to the power of negative 5, b to the power of 2, c to the power of negative 1, times by a to the power of 3, b to the power of 8. Now the first step is I want to simplify by applying the first index law and adding all my indices together that have the same base. So that is going to equal a to the power of negative 5 plus 3 times by b to the power of 2 plus 8 times by c to the power of negative 1. And that is going to equal a to the power of negative 2 times b to the power of 10 times c to the power of negative 1. Now that I've simplified, I can go ahead and see where my negative indices are. And I've got a negative index for a to the power of negative 2 and a negative index for c to the power of negative 1. Now, using the seventh index law, I can move both of those down to the denominator because at the moment they're up the top in my numerator. And that will leave me with b to the power of 10 that stays up the top because it's a positive. And then down the bottom is going to be a to the power of 2, c to the power of 1, or I can just write c because the 1 doesn't need to be written. So my simplified answer after applying the seventh index law is b to the power of 10 over a to the power of 2, c.